A man may forget what you said, he may forget what you did, but he will never forget how you made him feel. The secret to being unforgettable is not about tricks, beauty, or status. It's about something much deeper. If you understand this, you will never chase love. You will become the love he chases. Too many people think love is about possession, about keeping someone close. But real love is not about holding on. It is about creating an experience so powerful, so profound, that even if someone leaves, they carry you within them forever. Women ask, how do I make him love me? How do I make him never forget me? The answer is not in your looks, your words, or your actions. It is in your energy, the way you move, the way you exist, the way you make someone feel in your presence. If you want to be unforgettable, don't focus on being the most beautiful, the smartest, or the most desirable. Focus on becoming a force, a feeling that lingers even in your absence. Let's talk about the 10 powerful ways to become the woman he will never forget. Stop trying to impress, start trying to inspire. Because impressions fade, but inspiration, it lasts a lifetime. Have you ever walked into a room and seen someone trying too hard? Maybe it was a woman adjusting her dress every few minutes, laughing too loudly at jokes that weren't funny, or constantly checking her phone to see if she got a reply. You can feel the energy. It's desperate, it's uncomfortable, it's exhausting. Now think of someone who enters a space, calm and collected, unbothered by who's watching, completely at ease with herself. She doesn't try to capture attention, but somehow you can't stop looking at her. That is the difference between seeking to impress and choosing to inspire. The world has conditioned women to believe that they must be seen to be valued. Wear this, do this, say this, then you will be unforgettable. But here's the truth. You don't become unforgettable by being loud, by chasing attention, by constantly proving yourself. You become unforgettable by the way you make people feel, by the way you challenge them, by the way you shift their perspective, without ever forcing it. There is no real power in impressing someone. When you impress, you're performing. You're acting for approval, hoping that what you do will be good enough for someone else to validate your worth. But tell me, when has true power ever needed validation? Look at the greatest women in history. Did they try to impress? Or did they stand so firmly in their truth that people couldn't help but be moved by them? An inspiring woman doesn't seek attention, she commands it. Now let's talk about daily life. A woman in the workplace, constantly staying late, constantly over-delivering, constantly trying to please everyone. She thinks if she does more, they will see her, they will respect her, they will promote her. And maybe they do notice, but only for a moment. And the second she stops, they forget. Why? Because she was impressing, not inspiring. But then, there's another woman in that same workplace. She does her work well, but she doesn't overextend herself for approval. She speaks when she has something valuable to say, not just to be heard. She carries herself with confidence, not arrogance, but certainty. And because of that, people listen. People remember her. Men do not remember the woman who bent over backward to get their attention. They remember the one who made them see the world differently. They remember the one who walked away when she wasn't valued. They remember the one who didn't need their validation to feel whole. A woman who inspires does not say, look at me. She says, look at what I believe in. Look at what I stand for. Look at how I live my truth. She does not try to pull people into her world. She simply exists so powerfully that people want to be part of it. Do you know why an impression fades? Because it's surface level. A beautiful face, another one will come along. A charming personality, someone else can have that too. But inspiration, that comes from the depths of your soul. That is something no one can replicate. The difference between an ordinary woman and an extraordinary woman is not in what she wears, what she says, or even how she looks. It is in how she makes you feel. When she speaks, you don't just hear her, you feel her words in your bones. When she moves, she doesn't seek validation, she moves with the certainty that she is already enough. Tell me, what would happen if starting today, you stopped performing, if you stopped adjusting your personality to fit into someone else's expectations, if you stopped watering yourself down so others could handle you, what would happen if you walked into every room as if you belonged there? Not because someone said you do, but because you know you do. The world does not need more women who are desperate to be liked. The world needs more women who are bold enough to inspire without apology, to be a fire that cannot be tamed, to be a presence that cannot be ignored. You don't become unforgettable by what you do. You become unforgettable by who you are. A woman who brings chaos is forgettable. A woman who brings peace, she is irreplaceable. When a man finds peace in you, he will always return. Look around. The world is filled with noise, arguments, expectations, pressures, distractions. Everyone is running, chasing, trying to prove something, trying to be someone. The mind is restless, the heart is unsettled. But in the middle of all this, there are rare souls. Women who walk into a room and suddenly everything feels lighter, everything feels calmer. It is not what they say, not what they wear, not even what they do. It is simply their presence. There is a difference between a woman who demands attention and a woman who commands presence. The one who demands attention does so through noise, through drama, through constant validation seeking, through unnecessary fights. But the one who commands presence, she does so through her energy, her ability to make people feel safe, understood, and at ease. Imagine two women in a relationship. The first one is always questioning, always doubting. Where were you? Who were you with? Why didn't you text me back immediately? Every conversation is an interrogation. Every moment is a test. The man may stay, but not because he wants to, because he's exhausted. Because it's easier to stay than to fight, because he fears the storm that will come if he leaves. But here's the truth. Love that is built on fear, on obligation, on exhaustion, it never lasts. Now imagine the second woman. She's not naive. She's not weak. But she understands that real love does not thrive in fear. It thrives in freedom. She does not beg. She does not chase. She does not demand. She trusts. And because she trusts, the man does not feel like he is constantly being watched. He feels like he is being welcomed. And do you know what happens when a man feels truly at peace with a woman? He never wants to leave. Because in a world full of pressure, expectations, and demands, she is his escape. She is his home. A woman's beauty may attract a man. Her kindness may make him stay for a while. But the one thing that will make her unforgettable, the way she makes him feel in her presence. If he feels judged, if he feels drained, if he feels like he must always be on guard, he will run. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day. But if he feels at ease, if he feels like he can breathe, if he feels like he is free to be himself, he will always come back. Think of a river. It does not push, it does not pull, it simply flows. Yet it is powerful, it shapes mountains, it carves valleys, it nourishes life. A peaceful woman is like that river. She does not force, she does not chase, she does not demand, but she changes everything around her just by being who she is. There is a common lie the world tells women. If you do not fight for attention, you will be forgotten. And because of this, many women become addicted to drama. They believe that chaos equals passion, that arguments equal intensity, that emotional battles equal love. But no man longs for war at home. A man may tolerate drama for a while, but he will never crave it. What he will crave, what he will seek, what he will never forget, is the woman who gives him peace in a world that gives him nothing but war. Think about it in daily life. A man leaves work, his mind filled with stress, with pressure, with responsibilities. He opens his phone. One woman has sent him 10 messages, each one more demanding than the last. She is angry, she is upset, she is making him feel like a failure. Another woman, she has sent only one message. Hey, I hope your day is going okay. No pressure, just wanted to say I'm here if you need to talk. One makes his heart feel heavy, the other makes his heart feel light. Tell me, which one will he miss? Which one will he think about in the silence of the night? Being a peaceful woman does not mean you allow disrespect. It does not mean you tolerate dishonor. It means you have mastered the art of balance. You stand strong in your values, but you do not create unnecessary battles. You communicate, but you do not attack. You express, but you do not suffocate. A storm can be powerful, but it is also destructive. A woman who is always a storm may be exciting at first, but eventually the destruction will be too much. A man may admire a storm, but he will seek shelter from it. But a sunrise is quiet, beautiful, undeniable, and no one forgets the warmth of a sunrise. A woman who knows her worth does not beg for love. She commands it with her presence. She does not plead, she does not chase, she does not lower herself for anyone. She walks with the certainty that she is the prize. And when a woman carries herself this way, a man will never forget her. Look around you. How many women have given away their power in the name of love? How many have stayed in relationships that drained them, hoping that one day the man would wake up and realize her value? How many have begged for a reply, for time, for attention, believing that if they just tried harder, he would love her more? But here is the truth. When you have to beg for love, it is not love, it is a transaction. And a man does not treasure what comes at the cost of desperation. A man is wired to chase, to pursue, to value what he believes is rare. What happens when something is rare? It is protected. It is cherished. It is not taken for granted. A woman who begs is not rare. She is replaceable. A woman who stands firm in her worth, she is unforgettable. Imagine two women in a relationship. One spends her days waiting for his messages, staring at her phone, adjusting her plans to fit his schedule. She is always available, always giving, always proving herself. The other woman, she's busy. She has a life beyond him. She does not drop everything for a man who only gives her breadcrumbs of attention. She does not settle for half love. She values herself too much to beg. Tell me, which one do you think he will crave? Which one will he respect? Which one will live in his mind long after she is gone? A woman who values herself is not arrogant, but she is also not desperate. She understands that her presence in a man's life is a gift, not a privilege that he can take lightly. She does not throw herself at him. She allows him to earn her presence. And because of this, he will never take her for granted. Have you ever noticed how people value what they have to work for? When you walk into a luxury store, they do not beg you to buy something. They do not chase you down the street offering discounts, lowering their standards just to make a sale. No. They stand firm. They know their worth. And because of that, people desire them. But go to a marketplace where vendors are shouting, lowering prices, begging you to buy. That is what desperation looks like. And anything that is desperate will never be truly valued. Love is no different. A man will never forget the woman who made him work for her presence, who did not give her heart away easily, who knew that she was rare. Think about it in daily life. A woman walks into a room, her head held high, her energy magnetic. Not because she is the loudest, not because she is trying too hard, but because she simply knows that she is enough. She does not need validation. She does not need approval. She is confident in her existence. Another woman, she is restless, seeking attention, doing everything to be noticed. She laughs too loud. She clings too hard. She tries to fit into whatever mold she thinks will make a man love her. But love built on performance is not love. It is an act. A woman who knows her worth does not fear losing a man. She knows that the right man will never risk losing her in the first place. She does not settle for half love. She does not entertain inconsistency. She does not shrink herself to fit into a man's life. She is already whole. And a whole woman does not beg for incomplete love. There is a power in a woman who is willing to walk away. A power in knowing that you do not have to prove your worth to anyone who cannot already see it. And when a woman walks in that power, she will never be forgotten. Because a man may forget a woman who was always there, who gave too much too soon, who had no boundaries, but he will never forget the woman who knew her worth and refused to settle for less. A woman who embraces mystery is unforgettable. A woman who is an open book, predictable, always available, always explaining herself, she fades into the background. She becomes ordinary. But the one who leaves something unsaid, who keeps a part of herself unknown, who does not reveal everything at once, That is the woman who lingers in a man's mind long after she has left the room. Think about it. What is it that draws people to the ocean? It is vast, deep, unknown. No matter how many times you stand before it, there is always more to discover. There is something intoxicating about mystery, about not knowing everything at once. Now, compare that to a small pond. Still, shallow, predictable, you see everything at first glance and then you move on. Which one do you think a man will return to? Which one do you think he will never forget? A woman who is mysterious does not play games, but she does not give everything away either. She does not explain her every thought, does not feel the need to justify herself. She leaves gaps, just enough for a man to wonder, to crave knowing more. And this craving, this is what makes her unforgettable. Look at the world of storytelling. The most powerful stories do not explain everything. They leave space for imagination. They leave room for curiosity. This is why people return to them, why they linger in the mind. But when a story tells you everything, lays it all out in the first chapter, what happens? There is no intrigue, there is no mystery, and so you lose interest. A woman is no different. When she is too available, when she overshares, when she constantly explains herself, there is no chase, no intrigue, no reason for a man to keep discovering her. But when she holds back, when she reveals only pieces of herself, when she allows a man to wonder, she becomes unforgettable. Think of daily life, a woman who answers every text immediately, who says yes to every request, who is always available, always predictable. At first it feels good, but over time, she becomes a habit, not a mystery. She becomes expected, not desired. But the woman who does not rush to reply, who keeps parts of her life just for herself, who leaves moments of silence in a conversation, she creates space for longing. She does not need to chase. The man will come to her again and again because there is always more to uncover. This is not about manipulation. This is about value. Anything that is too easy to get is too easy to forget. Look at rare diamonds. Look at priceless art. They are not displayed on every street corner. They are kept in places where only the worthy can reach them. And because of that, people desire them even more. A man may enjoy a woman who is always available, who tells him everything, who lays herself bare without hesitation, but he will not remember her. Because there is no mystery, no intrigue, no discovery. A woman who is a mystery keeps a man's mind engaged. And once a man's mind is engaged, his heart follows. A woman's mystery is her power. It is not about being distant. It is about being unpredictable. It is about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. It is about knowing that the rarest things in life are not given freely. They are revealed over time. A woman who owns her independence is a woman who cannot be forgotten. She is not the one waiting for permission to live. She does not sit by the phone hoping for someone to give her a purpose. She does not shrink herself, making room for a man's world while erasing her own. No. She is the kind of woman who walks with purpose, who builds her own empire, who knows that she is complete with or without anyone. And that is precisely why a man will never be able to forget her. Look around. The world is filled with women who have lost themselves in the name of love. Women who once had dreams but gave them up because they believed that being with a man was the ultimate goal. Women who put their ambitions on hold, thinking that their role was to fit into someone else's story rather than write their own. And where do these women end up? Forgotten, overlooked, taken for granted, because what is easily obtained is easily dismissed. But a woman who stands firm in her independence, she is rare. She is a force. She does not chase love because she understands that love will find her in the middle of her purpose. She does not beg for attention because she is too busy being exceptional. And the man who crosses her path, he does not forget her. He cannot. Because she is not just another woman, she is an experience. Think about it. What excites people? It is the thrill of the chase. The excitement of something that cannot be controlled, something that keeps them on their toes. But when a woman makes a man the center of her universe, when she is always available, always adjusting, always putting herself second, where is the excitement? Where is the challenge? There is none. And so she becomes another habit, another routine, another thing that is expected rather than desired. A woman who owns her independence does not ask for permission to be great. She does not wait for someone to validate her choices. She wakes up in the morning and she moves. She builds, she creates, she becomes. And in doing so, she becomes unforgettable. Think of the women who have left a mark on history. Were they the ones who sat quietly waiting for a man to define them? No, they were the ones who broke the rules, who followed their own paths, who refused to be placed in a box. They were the ones who had their own opinions, their own goals, their own sense of purpose. And that is exactly why the world remembers them. Now think of daily life. A man meets two women. One is eager to please, always agreeing, always making sure she is likable, always afraid of standing alone. The other, she is confident. She has her own dreams, her own passions. She enjoys his company, but she does not need it to feel whole. She walks into a room and there is something about her, something that makes people take notice. Tell me, which woman will he remember? Which woman will leave an imprint on his mind? A woman who owns her independence is magnetic. She is not desperate. She is not afraid. She does not compromise her essence just to fit into a man's life. And that is why a man will never be able to forget her. Because a woman who does not need to be remembered is the one who is remembered the most. A woman who respects herself sets a standard that no one can ignore. She does not tolerate half-hearted love, empty promises, or disrespect disguised as affection. She does not lower her value just to fit into someone else's convenience. She walks with a quiet strength, an unshakable confidence that says, I know my worth and I will not accept less. And that, my friend, is the kind of woman a man can never forget. Look around. The world is filled with people who compromise themselves for acceptance. They lower their standards just to be chosen. They beg for love. They tolerate disrespect. They hold on to relationships that drain them just because they fear being alone. But tell me, what happens when you accept less than you deserve? You teach people that they can give you less. And once they know you will accept crumbs, they will never bring you a feast. But a woman who respects herself, she commands a different kind of attention. She does not need to beg for love because her presence itself is an invitation to greatness. She does not have to chase because the right people are drawn to her energy. She is not afraid to walk away. And that is exactly why no one wants to lose her. Think of a queen. She does not sit on her throne waiting for approval. She does not beg her subjects to stay. If someone disrespects her, she does not argue. She simply dismisses them. Because she knows that her presence is a privilege, not a favor. This is the mindset of a woman who respects herself. Now look at daily life. A woman is in a relationship with a man who never prioritizes her. He ignores her messages, makes plans last minute, never puts effort into making her feel special. And yet she stays. She makes excuses. She tells herself maybe he's just busy. Maybe he will change. But deep inside, she knows the truth. She knows she is settling. Now, picture another woman. She sees the same behavior, but instead of making excuses, she makes a decision. She walks away. She does not cry for attention. She does not beg for love. She does not waste her energy trying to fix someone who does not value her. And what happens? That man will remember her. Because she was not the woman who could be played with. She was the woman who set a standard. This is the difference between being forgotten and being unforgettable. A woman who allows disrespect, who accepts less than she deserves, she becomes replaceable. But a woman who stands firm in her self-respect, she becomes a lesson. She is the one a man will look back on and say, I should have treated her better. Because he knows he will never find another like her. Think of legendary women in history. Were they the ones who tolerated mediocrity? No, they were the ones who demanded greatness, not just from others, but from themselves. They did not settle for ordinary love, ordinary treatment, ordinary lives. And that is why the world remembers them. A woman who respects herself creates an energy that is impossible to ignore. She does not lower her voice to be loved. She does not shrink herself to be accepted. She does not stay in places where she is not valued. And because of that, she is not just another memory. She is a mark on the soul. She is the standard that others measure against. She is the one they regret losing. She is the one who can never be forgotten. A woman who knows how to make a man feel admired and respected holds a power beyond beauty, beyond charm, beyond words. It is not about flattery, it is not about blindly agreeing or shrinking herself to boost his ego. No, it is about understanding something deeper, a truth that most overlook. A man does not just want love, he wants to feel valued. He wants to feel like he matters. And the woman who makes him feel this way, she's impossible to forget. Look at the world. People crave recognition. They crave to be seen, to be appreciated, to be valued for who they are. Have you ever noticed how a man will do anything for the person who makes him feel significant? He will climb mountains, cross oceans, face storms. Not for love alone, but for the feeling of being seen, of being respected, of being a man in her eyes. This is not manipulation, this is understanding human nature. But here's where most go wrong. They think admiration means submission. They think it means agreeing to everything, never having an opinion, always nodding and pleasing. That is not admiration, that is weakness. And a strong man does not want a weak woman. He does not want someone who vanishes into the background. He wants someone who sees his strength, who recognizes his potential, who challenges him to be greater, while still making him feel like a king. Think about it. The men who build empires, who change the world, who lead, what kind of women stand beside them? Not women who belittle, who nag, who make them feel small. Not women who pretend to admire but secretly resent. No. The women they cannot forget are the ones who uplift, who inspire, who make them feel like giants even when they feel like men. Imagine this in daily life. A man has two women in his life. One constantly finds faults in him, always criticizes, always complains. He is never enough. No matter what he does, there is always something wrong. The other woman, she sees his flaws, yes, but she also sees his strengths. She reminds him of what he is capable of. She pushes him, not by force, but by belief. She speaks to the king in him, and because of that, he starts acting like one. Tell me, which woman will he fight for? Which woman will he move mountains for? Respect is a language. It is not in the words alone. It is in the way you say them. It is in the way you look at him when he speaks, in the way you acknowledge his efforts, in the way you make him feel like the greatest version of himself when he is with you. A woman who understands this does not just get a man's attention. She gets his soul. This is not about losing yourself in a man. It is not about putting him above yourself. It is about bringing out the best in him while standing strong in your own power. It is about knowing that making someone feel admired does not make you less. It makes you unforgettable. It makes you the kind of woman who leaves a mark that no time, no distance, no other person can erase. There is something rare about a woman who can truly understand a man without him having to explain himself. It is not about words, it is about presence. It is about energy. It is about being so deeply connected to his essence that she sees beyond what he says, beyond what he shows, beyond what the world assumes. And when a woman understands a man in this way, she becomes unforgettable. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. They hear, but they do not feel. They see, but they do not observe. And because of this, people go through life feeling unseen, unknown, misunderstood. But when someone truly understands you without judgment, without force, without needing explanations, that is something you never forget. Imagine a man who carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. Society tells him to be strong, to never break, to always have the answers. He wears his confidence like armor, but deep inside, he carries battles no one sees. He walks through life meeting people who admire his strength but ignore his struggles. And then he meets a woman who sees it. She does not just admire his victories. She understands the wars he had to fight to win them. She does not just see his confidence. She sees the moments he doubts himself. And she does not try to fix him. She does not try to change him. She simply understands. Tell me, how can a man forget a woman like that? He can't. Because understanding is deeper than love. It is more powerful than beauty, more lasting than passion. Love can fade, attraction can shift, but when someone truly understands you, they become a part of you. Look at daily life. A man might have many relationships in his lifetime. He may meet women who love him, who admire him, who desire him. But the one he will never forget? The one who knew him. The one who could sense when he was struggling without him saying a word. The one who knew what he needed before he asked.